Now, we talked about swimming. I know I also remember you telling me stories about ice skating on the Charles River and on the lagoons.
In the 1930s, I grew up in the Back Bay, and I remember going down there. We roller skated on a sort of concrete path where the Starrow Drive is now. And I remember an MDC officer who was at least 9 feet tall and weighed at least 500 pounds. At least I thought so. He was a little guy. And we were obedient to Officer Dennehy. But we would roller skate on what is now the drive, and then the lagoons would freeze over. There was actually a hockey league in the basin. And one of the 5 years that I was running the MDC, it got cold enough. And I bought an ice borer, and the police were very uptight about this, but I said, it is the People's River, and if we can use it for recreation, we should. And once we got the river down about 15 inches of ice on top, it's still a river underneath, but we thought that the ice would support
the hockey league,
raucous teenagers and overweight people like me, and by George, we had some skating on the river, but the swimming had stopped years before, and the MDC, to my sorrow, had built these pools. It sort of gave up and decided let's provide this alternative method for people to swim. There were, as you know, half a dozen in the lower catchment of the Charles.
Yeah, well, there's maybe if we could have the map again, there's the Lee Pool in front of MGH.
And there was a beach there
on one occasion. There was a beach there.
Yeah, that's right down here.
In front of the Lee Pool. And then we have, of course, one on Magazine Beach, and then there's one in Brighton and one in Watertown.
And the North End kids used to love to jump in, but that's outside the old basin and the new basin. The old is roughly there, and the new is roughly here.
And next, I also seen a picture next to the Longfellow Bridge of a bathhouse that was on the shore, right next to where the first public gymnasium was. There was this bathhouse where people would swim in the river and then change in the bathhouse.
Into their Victorian clothes. There are still some bathhouses. I mean, there's a bathhouse at Magazine Beach. There's another one at the Elliott Bridge. A goodly number of them was grasped onto by powerful politicians and turned into Legion posts and VFW posts and stuff like that.
And the one on Magazine Beach, which was built from stones from the Magazine Tower, it's still empty, so we hope that this building will eventually be restored.
That's quite a handsome building.
It's a beautiful building.
And that, as I mentioned, is the place we found the oldest human artifact anywhere known, I think, in this part of New England. But I had a battle royal with the great Democratic state senator who wanted to preserve the Legion post at the Elliott Bridge, and we managed to run the bike path between the building and the barbecue pit. I'm not sure Senator McCann has forgiven me, but he's gone to heaven, so.
Well, they're both used heavily, the bike path and the barbecue pit, so they seem to be able to function in harmony, so that's great. Right. And it's wonderful that the Elliott Bridge right there next to it actually has an underpass. I don't know if you know when that was built, because I understand it wasn't part of the original design.
I built it. We
built the underpass?
Well, no, we took the doors off the undersection of the Elliott Bridge. We found a gentleman living there, and he was brought to my office, and those were grander days, and the police thought I was much more important than I actually was. And they wondered how I would deal with this gentleman who'd been living in our bridge, and I said, "Sir, would you mind telling us, do you vote in Cambridge or in Boston?" He was living essentially in the river, which gave them a good time. But I thought it was the world's only grade-separated bike path. I was so proud of myself. Then I went to Finland and found that there are quite a number of grade-separated bike paths in Helsinki.
Separated, you mean on one side of the river?
Well,
Or
just that people can travel bicycle this way, because you can bicycle over the bridge, under the bridge.
And I mean, the model of the Elliott Bridge is a wonderful one, because that we would like to see repeated on other bridges, so that as you bicycle along the river, you don't have to struggle against the traffic that crosses the bridge.
That's right.
So that is really a model that we hope to, as bridges are being restored, can be followed on other bridges.
In our most glorious day, we built the public theater out of Quabbin reservoir lumber, and we were running a boat from the Museum of Science for nothing to the Hat Shell, where we had some little concerts, Bach in the Basin, we called them after the Pops,
Yeah.
and then to the public theater. So we had all that for freebies, and bring back the good old MDC.
Well, I think we probably would need another program to talk about Herder Park and the public theater. As you know, the public theater is being rejuvenated in a wonderful way. And in terms of classical music, we now have the Landmarks Orchestra playing on the Esplanade in the Hat Shell. But we will have to close for today, but I would like to thank also the Boston Foundation for making those programs possible. And I would particularly like to thank you, John Sears, to sharing your MDC memories with us. And maybe we can talk about Herder Park, which is a whole wonderful world in itself, an important part of the Parklands.
I admired him highly, Renata, but I admire you too, as the founder of the Conservancy and the person who's really kept it going and made it something important. It's critically important.
Thank you very much, John Sears. And I hope you will enjoy your Parklands, and thank you for joining us for the Charlesville Parkland Show, and good night.